controls a Major Tom.
We've been expecting you, Mr. Boyd.
His is the worst voice you will ever hear.
Will he offer me his teeth?
The Tommy Boyds Show will teach you nothing. Nothing.
Always read the label.
Nothing but iniquity and wickedness.
If you really bug me, then I'll say goodbye.
Good morning. How do? Good news for everyone who, like this show, cares about the unemployed and the problem of unemployment. Good news. It could be that a solution is at hand, a solution which comes from an unusual field. We've heard about the National Service solution to unemployment in Britain and worldwide. We've heard about the re-education solution to unemployment in Britain and elsewhere. And in Britain we have tried in the past and also heard from time to time about the emigration solution to the problem of unemployment in Britain. Those things have been talked about. Those things have sometimes been tried, but have been found wanting. Japanese research work suggests that the solution to long-term unemployment may lie elsewhere, listen to this, in the field of eugenics, the eugenics solution to unemployment. And if their research proves to be watertight, and we'll get to that in just a second, but it's very interesting, it may lead to the following. Unemployed men being barred from having children in case unemployment is in fact hereditary. Free call 0500 10 53 89. What do you say? Unemployed men should not be allowed to have children in case it turns out that unemployment has a genetic base. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Genetics are a very powerful, the most powerful influence over what we look like and how we behave. It seems to control so many aspects of each and every one of us that the Japanese research doctors have been looking into the possibility that unemployment itself, unemployability, is in some way an inherited trait. Free call 0500 10 53 89. There's been an explosion, hasn't there, of interest in the whole business of genetics ever since Crick and his pal stumbled on DNA just 50 years ago. It's now known for sure, isn't it, that aspects of our physical self, such as our height and our eye colour and our hair colour and our bone structure, the way we look, the way we wrinkle our nose, the way we smile, the way we occasionally have moods, the odd temper tantrum which reminds the family. We discussed this in a previous programme devoted to genetics. The way a temper tantrum in a 4-year-old can clearly be seen to have been something that they have inherited from Uncle Stan, who's now in his 70s, because that's how he was when he was 4. If something as elusive as a mood or the twist of a lip in a smile can be contained in your genetic code, it's perfectly possible, isn't it, that unemployment can as well. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Your intelligence, your fundamental strength, your aging process, the way in which you age, your entire emotional spectrum, all your moods, your energy levels. Each of these things may well be encoded in your DNA. And all of these things are crucial factors when you go for a job. And if you find that you have been turned away 100 times out of 100, never absolutely certain why, but are coming to the conclusion that perhaps the world finds you unemployable, you see, it may be that the best thing you can do is to make sure that you don't pass that trait on to any of your offspring. It may be a recessive gene, in which case it could miss a generation, and it's quite possible that you yourself are unemployed, but that both of your children are busy in work. But what about your grandchildren? Still at their mother's knee? You wouldn't really want that on anybody, would you? Free call 0500 10 53 89. I'm not suggesting at all that this is something that the state should control. I think it's something which a proper process of education will lead everybody who suspects that they may have this genetic flaw, unemployability, should take on board, accept with good grace, and simply make sure that the buck stops with them. Simple as that. Free call 0500 10 53 89. We're talking here about the unemployable. We're not talking about those unemployed who are fundamentally lazy. Free call 0500 10 53 89. We've tried the national service solution, re-education, emigration. Let's consider the eugenic solution to the problem of mass unemployment. If it's not a solution that you find practical, then by all means suggest your own solution to what remains one of the big economic and social problems of the 20th century. One suggestion is that since there is so much of the world unexplored and unused, that we take a leaf out of our forefathers' books who sent those who are unable to make a full contribution to society to go and live and work in Australia. Well, there are great tracts, aren't there, of Greenland, for example, and Tashkent, and Middle America, where absolutely nothing is going on. It might be time, might it not, for the 1.2 million or 2.7 million or 800,000 or 4.9 million, depending on which set of figures you believe, to take a one-way charter flight. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Let's stay constructive and let's keep our thinking caps on. Do you believe that unemployed men shouldn't be allowed to have children in case unemployment is hereditary? I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio.
Sorry, yes. I've just got a question really about the research. I mean, of course, it's based on research, all of this.
Yes.
But what happens if you get a bloke who's unemployable and he marries a woman who's got a history of being very employed and she's got a history of being very successful, and then they marry, and then you can't sort of make a judgment based on that?
Well, as is always the case, it depends on which parent the child takes after, doesn't it?
Okay, well, have you heard this research then? I've heard in the Daily Mail, which is quite a credible paper, that intelligence comes from the mother. Right?
The Daily Mail, mate. 8 weeks ago, the Daily Mail was banging on about how wonderful Earl Spencer is up there in the pulpit, telling the press to leave people's private lives out of it. Did you buy yesterday's Daily Mail?
No, why?
What, with the 3-page pullout on Earl Spencer's private life?
Well, I sort of flipped past that bit, but,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But,
I thought I'd have a side shot at the Daily Mail there. The intelligence comes from the mother.
Yeah, it's definitely, I think that's the evidence I've seen, and that's come from American research.
Well, if you look
and
at
the emotional base of a person comes from the father. So if your father's very angry and, you know, he gets emotional very quickly, then you take after that.
Well, not all jobs require intelligence, do they?
Sorry?
Not all jobs require intelligence.
No.
Some jobs just require resilience and good,
that's right. But
strong emotions. What do you do?
Well, I work in the drinks industry as a sales executive.
Right. Was your father a sales executive?
No, my father's a farmer.
A farmer?
Yeah.
Oh, well, there's no future in that, is there, though?
Well, there is, actually.
Well, I don't know about that. But you do get an awful lot of sons following their fathers into the same
well,
line,
I'm going to follow
don't
him.
you?
I'm going to follow into his profession eventually, but
there you are. Well, there you are, you see. You see,
yeah,
look, mate, if employment is hereditary, then unemployment could be hereditary. I rest my case.
No, the only reason why I'm going back to the farm is because I think working for yourself at the end of the day is the best option. Working for someone else is no good.
Yes, that's true. And of course, it would be impossible to distinguish the degree to which you had been contaminated with this interest in the land as a small child from any possible genetic encoding that you may have in you to be a farmer, mate. But it's possible, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true. But
look at Ruud Gullit's daughter, who was born last week.
Yeah.
Okay. You know that Ruud Gullit's girlfriend is the daughter of Johan Cruyff?
Right, yeah.
Well, if this girl isn't going to be something of a footballer, then there's nothing in genetics at all, is there? She's got Johan Cruyff on one hand and Ruud Gullit as the father on the other.
Yeah.
She's got to be handy, hasn't she?
Yeah, but you can't make that judgment now, though, can you? You're basing it on a judgment which you know, after years of going into an education, after years being influenced by peers and by her parents and by friends, she might decide something completely different. I think it's impossible to judge, at the age of 2, that a person is going to say, right, I'm sorry, you're going to go into football now, aren't you? I mean, it's a little bit, you know, dodgy ground there, isn't it, really?
Miles, thank you for your call. Matthew is next in London. You're on Talk Radio. Matthew.
Hi.
Good afternoon.
I just wanted to make a point. I heard you say that Uzbekistan was a underpopulated area. Well, Tashkent, you mentioned, the capital of Uzbekistan.
Where are you calling from?
London.
Well, compared to London, it is.
Well, Tashkent itself has a population over 1 million, but I lived there last year. I just want to know, what did you mean by that, like underpopulated? Do you mean like the area surrounding Tashkent?
Yes, obviously, the provincial part.
Oh, well, like, the actual place itself is really highly populated, but around it, it's uninhabitable, so you couldn't send anyone there.
But the unemployed wouldn't mind.
I'm sure they would. It's like, it's just marshland, basically. So I don't think you want to go there.
Right, well, there are nevertheless plenty of other parts of this wonderful planet Earth where people who don't have a job and can't get a job might be interested in, just sort of trying the...
Well, many of these places have their own problems with unemployment, don't they? They don't want British unemployed there.
It is a problem, isn't it? What is your reaction as obviously an educated man? What is your reaction to our suggestion, which we've extrapolated from some research which is going on elsewhere, that perhaps unemployed men shouldn't be allowed to have children in case it is a genetic trait?
I think as soon as you get onto any sort of behaviour like that, it's fascist. It's to discriminate a section of the population just because they're intelligent. I don't think that's really fair.
Well, what do you do?
Pardon?
What do you do?
Well, I think you shouldn't have anyone unemployed, whether it's menial tasks, just like emptying a hole and filling it back up with dirt. As long as you make someone do something, their mind's active. So basically, forms of pretty menial employment are better than just letting people sit around and get money, because that instills improper doctrine in someone. They think they can do something, do nothing and get something. So I'd go that way.
If we were to encourage unemployed people not to have children, at least that would help with the problems that the world is going to be facing in the next century with overpopulation. Yeah,
but I don't think you can rely that purely on genetics and expect just because you cut out, if you don't allow a section of the population which is considered unintelligent to procreate.
But people need a concrete reason not to have children.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody who said, well, I'm not going to have children because I think there's enough people in the world already. Because there are, aren't there?
Yes, but if you love someone and you want their child, whether you're intelligent or not, you're going to want a child, aren't you? You're not going to listen to economic reasons. You haven't got a job, you can't have a kid.
So what you need is an extra reason for not having a child.
Well, yeah.
Right. So
I don't think people have got enough sense of community to, sacrifice having a child in order to benefit the populace, have they?
I know men who say that they're going to have children because they want to carry on their family name. I've never heard of such rubbish in all my life. Because the name's Smith or Blenkinsop.
Exactly. I'm sure someone else will carry on for them if the name's Smith.
Ridiculous. The population is going to double in the next 100 years, did you know?
Yeah, our population?
The population of planet Earth.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I mean, if you look at India at the moment, its growth rate's just starting to exceed China's. And early next century will have more people than China. And the Chinese are considering relaxing their laws on children in order just to catch up, because it's part of the communist doctrine in China.
Answer me this: if the research does show that unemployed people are more likely to have children who will be unemployed, to what extent do you think that might be down to genetic factors, and to what extent do you think unemployment is a learned trait?
Well, if the figures show that a large percentage of unemployed people's children become employed, I don't think you can really argue with that. I think that is a genetical trend coming through. But my problem's with what you can do about it. I really don't think that in a democratic society you can tell people not to have kids.
You can always ask. Free call 0500 10 53 89. There are, in fact, enough of us. I've had my 2, so I'm not going to do any more. I could do 6, 12, easily. I love them, but 2's enough. 2 is enough. I always say to people when they say they've got 3, why? Why did you need to make more than we've already got? But I don't, because it would seem rude. And people are so proud, aren't they, when they've got 9? They tell you very quickly, don't they? It's like elderly people will tell you that they're 87. So certain mothers will quickly tell you that they've got 9. And you're supposed to go, that's fantastic. And so you do. But is it? Free call 0500 10 53 89. I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio. There's a good argument for having the least number of children. None. Let's see what they say. James calls from Watford. You're on Talk Radio, James. Good afternoon.
Tommy, I've never heard anything so wet in all my life. I mean, how can you say that unemployed people shouldn't have children when there's soldiers and people like that out there who possibly have a killer instinct in their genes?
Well,
surely they're more relevant people not to have children.
That's Tuesday's programme. Can we wait until then? That's
no,
Tuesday's
I mean,
programme.
It's still relevant.
Not to a programme about unemployment, it isn't.
Well, yes, it is.
No, it isn't.
Well, there's another point I'd like to make as well.
By all means.
Which is that there's people out there, university graduates and other people,
yes,
who have tried to get jobs, can't get jobs. And people are asking for 2 years experience, things like that, and they can't get experience to get jobs. You know? And are you tarring them with the same brush?
Yes, absolutely.
Why?
Well, because
for what reason?
There's a possibility that there may be a genetic factor controlling their failure to get a job.
Well, maybe that's just evolution. I mean, in the 50s, people were saying things about, in the future, you know, computers are going to improve society so people won't have to work so much. There's people out there who are working 60 hours plus, and there's people out there who haven't got any work at all.
Well, people who are able to work...
They don't want work, it's just because there isn't any available to them.
Yes, I know, but the reason why they are not taken up, and people who do work 60-hour weeks are taken up, could well be encoded in their DNA.
I think that's a problem with business more than people's DNA.
It isn't a problem if it's a fact. It's not a problem, it's just a fact.
Well, you know, there's plenty of people, these people who are doing 60 hours, earning, say, £50,000 or so, surely their jobs could be split in two, so two people could do the same work.
That's based on the idea that there's somebody else who can do that work. And what we're exploring in this programme is a brand new piece of thinking. It might be bunk, but it's worth exploring.
I think it is bunk. I mean, there's lots of fields, particularly artists. There's so many people come out of college and people who don't go to college who are good artists.
You're only saying it's bunk because it doesn't suit your set of thinking.
No, I'm saying it's bunk because it's a complete load of rubbish.
Well, it's bunk because it's a complete load of rubbish. What a watertight argument that is. Oh, I'd better stand down. You've got me there.
Well,
where's your argument? Where's your flipping argument? Where's your argument? It's bunk because it's a load of rubbish. You know to what extent you are controlled by your genes, don't you? Are you going to go bald?
Oh, may do.
How come?
Well, it's hereditary, isn't it, Tommy?
Thank you. End of argument.
Oh, yeah, right.
Your aging process is controlled by your genes. Your moods are controlled by your genes.
Love is controlled by your genes.
Quite possibly. You're falling into line, I can see. You're coming round, aren't you?
I'm just arguing my case.
I don't understand.
Well, no, I didn't think
Love is controlled by genes? Of course it is. All men are attracted to women who look like their mothers. Everybody knows that.
Yeah, but you can get women who are attracted to people for specific reasons. You get the gold diggers out there who are specifically out for money.
That could be genetic. Look, it's perfectly possible that a love of money is genetic, and an ability to acquire money is genetic, isn't it?
Well,
possible?
I mean, what's the value of money? These days we're living in more of a plastic society.
It's an ancient piece of wisdom, James. It is not new. People who were kings knew that the best person to be the king after them was probably their son, because the ability to rule may well be genetic.
Right, great, yeah.
Got it?
So
I'm just
Henry
inventing
VIII
this.
was a wonderful leader, was he?
Yes, this has
had
been...
a wife beheaded.
That isn't the point. That isn't the point. What I'm pointing out is that this is an ancient...
the killer argument, mate.
Mate, this is an important and ancient piece of wisdom which is now being tested in the laboratories. I'm sorry if it's gone zoom over your head.
Evolving, the human race is improving, and just because some people can't get work, then that means they have to be wiped out, does it?
No, not them wiped out. No, you're talking about a solution which is beyond anybody. We're not talking about killing the unemployed.
Well, if you're saying they can't have children, that's effectively what you're doing.
Yes.
Well, there you go.
You're
starting to come around to my way of thinking.
Getting rid of unemployment.
Getting rid of unemployment.
What's your solution to the problem?
I don't have a solution to the problem.
I'll bet you don't.
No.
No.
No, and I don't think there is one.
What good are you then?
Just take their natural course.
You see, when you have children, they'll probably be people who just go around criticising other people but haven't got an idea to rub together.
Will be. But that doesn't mean you have to start victimising them and say that they don't have a place in this world.
There won't be if you don't have children.
You got anything else to add?
Are you going to have children?
Oh, I may do if I find someone who I fall in love with.
Why?
I might want to have kids.
Why?
Why not?
Why not? There's a powerful argument. That's the second one that you've come up with that's knocked me off my feet.
Please hold the line.
I will. Are you still there? He's away. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Sometimes the future is a very frightening place, but it's where we're going to spend the rest of our lives. So we might as well now find out exactly what the dimensions are and its rateable value. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Rob calls from Surrey. You're on Talk Radio. Rob, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Why the hell should I pay my taxes to support these people who are unemployed and keep their kids when they haven't got a job? Why should they have kids?
Look, it's an area of the debate that I was reluctant to bring up because it's a particularly volatile one. But since you bring it up, yes.
I work hard. I pay a lot of tax.
Yes.
But it's going to these people who they haven't got jobs, and a lot of them couldn't be bothered. I'm not saying all of them. A lot of them couldn't be bothered. They don't need to work.
Yes.
They can get 150, 180, 200 pound a week income support to feed themselves, their families, get their rent paid. Why the hell should I pay for all that?
Well, it's a powerful point, and I'll let you make it. And I'm grateful that you called. Rob, thank you for your call.
You're welcome.
Free call 0500 10 53 89. Unemployed men should not be allowed to have children in case unemployability is an inherited trait. Research which is going on in a laboratory in another country may well support, it may not, but it may well support this idea. And it is, as I mentioned to a previous caller, an ancient idea. Free call 0500 10 53 89. You can be genetically prone to following in your parents' footsteps when it comes to a line of work. We know that. Look at kings. Look at soldiers. Look at the clergy. That doesn't work. Shut up. Move on. Look at sports people. How many famous athletic sons and daughters are there of athletic parents? Exactly. So if you can get some clue to what you're disposed to do as a job from your parents, it is quite possible that unemployed people may not be handing down an ideal set of genes to their children. So perhaps they, along with lots of other people, should be asked the question, why do you want children? And why do you want 12? Stephen calls from Berkshire. You're on Talk Radio. Stephen, good afternoon.
Hello. Yeah, the only problem with sending all of our rejects away is they might come back to haunt us. I mean, such as America, the whole world sent all their rejects to America, and they've become the most powerful nation on earth. And basically, they run the show, don't they? Mm. And we also sent a lot of our criminal elements and what have you to Australia, and a lot of them have come back and colonised parts of West London. Mm. So it could just be that we might be creating a problem for ourselves in the future.
We do tend to send our best abroad, don't we, the Brits?
You think we sent our best abroad?
I do. Well, I mean, the people who went to the United States 200 and 300 years ago were those with the pioneer spirit, the physical strength to make the crossing and then endure the push west. They were risk takers.
That's how you're viewing them now, but at the time...
Yes?
You started off the argument with saying that all the people who can't cut the mustard, let's send them abroad.
Yeah.
That's what the people that at that time did. They encouraged people to leave the country, and now they're seen as the pioneers, and maybe they were both.
we sent our criminals to Australia, didn't we?
We did.
And I'm sure if we'd had rampant unemployment 200 years ago, then we would have considered doing the same. Mm. It's a simple fact, isn't it? It makes sense.
Mm. We did actually have rampant unemployment 200 years ago.
No, we didn't. Nobody was unemployed 200 years ago.
Mm. People migrated from the country to the cities, and then the cities became clogged up with people who did who wanted jobs but they couldn't get them. They did have them. Mm. There's always been unemployment. There always will be unemployment. Mm. Unemployment should be a state of flux rather than a permanent state, which is what it is at the moment. Mm. The unemployed figure should be it may remain stable, but it'll be different people. Mm. That's how it should be.
Stephen in Berkshire, thank you for your call. Mary's in the West Midlands. You're on Talk Radio. Mary.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I think that it's a social thing, the way that the children are brought up and what they see around them, more than genetics. For example, my local GP is in a very sort of rundown area, and most of the people that go in there are unemployed and getting benefits. And I think it's just the way that their children see this, and they're brought up with the idea that they get money for doing nothing, their dads and their mums. So why should they bother? Mm. And that's it, basically. Mm. I mean, I take my children to school in the morning, and there's a mum at the gates who stands there and boasts about all these benefits she's getting, and I don't pay council tax, I don't pay my water bill because the government does it for me. She's taken her children on holiday this year for 2 weeks and abroad. We haven't, and my husband works all the hours God sends, basically.
What it sounds to me is, though, what you're saying, if I can read between the lines, Mary, is that even if this piece of research which is going on draws a blank and is unable to show that unemployment is some kind of genetic trait, you'd still be in favour of persuading the unemployed not to have children, because one way or another, the children are more likely to be unemployed.
Oh, definitely. I think they're an underclass, really. They're not even classed as good working class. They're just basically scroungers. And I say that, they shouldn't be allowed to breed. They see them the way they treat the kids anyway. And
breed?
Yeah, breed. Well, they breed, don't they?
They breed.
They do breed.
They breed.
I was in hospital having my last child, and there was a woman in there on her 7th, and she says, she just said, I can't bother to take precautions, and I have all these benefits, and she was boasting about how much money she got. And you think, well, bloody hell. Basically, it's just so aggravating because their children don't get any values.
Mary, I'm grateful for your call. Thank you for what you've said. And there's so much good fireplace wisdom in it, and humanity too. Although you have to stay with it. That's the fact, there is. If you want to know what people really think, real people, decent people, good people in their millions, this is the only radio station where you'll find that out. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Bill calls from Bradford. You're on Talk Radio. Bill.
Hi, Tommy. I think this is a really good theory of this, because I come from a big family, actually, 10 kids. I'm in my middle ages. My dad wore glasses, my mum didn't. 6 of us wear glasses, 4 of us don't. Are you still there?
Voila.
My dad went grey early. My mum didn't go grey until she was in her 70s. Now, I'm nearly 50, and I've still got a head of dark hair, but I've got my dad's glasses.
Right.
Now, they've already sort of basically proved that if your parents are heavy drinkers,
there's
a genetic code that goes in, and you're probably likely to be an heavy drinker.
It is a genetic trait.
Exactly.
Yes.
Now, I know we don't change much physically on the outside from generation to generation.
Yes.
But I think each generation can plug a little bit of genetics in, whatever it be.
We accept
of any kind, I think it's a really good theory.
There are plenty of people who are out of work for a range of reasons which have nothing to do with their DNA.
That's exactly right.
But if we accept, and it's an if, and you do, but if we accept that so many of our facets and features are delivered to us by deoxyribonucleic acid, or whatever it's called, then we've got to look at this great big social problem we have, which is unemployment.
Yeah. Now, I think it's down to them people to have a social conscience, really.
Yes.
As far as having children's concerned.
I'm grateful for your call, Bill. Thank you. Nick is next in London. You're on Talk Radio. Nick, good afternoon.
Yeah, hi, Tommy. Listen, Tommy, you've got a problem with black people, haven't you? I mean, this is going to really muck up your thinking. Because black people, everybody knows, are disproportionately unemployed, right? Hello, Tommy?
I'm not going to go throughout. Make your point and finish it, and then
all right,
you'll hear
black
from me.
people are disproportionately unemployed, but are you going to tell me their genes are worse than ours? I mean, I'm white. You're getting into very, very tricky ground there, Tommy. Are you going to be that racist?
I'm not really quite clear what you're saying.
Well, look at it's a very simple argument. It's very clear.
Unemployment is a worldwide problem.
No, in this country, let's talk about this country. Let's talk about
fine. Let's talk about this country. Yes.
In this country, are you just basically up with things enough to know that black people are disproportionately unemployed? That's percentage of the black population, a higher percentage is unemployed than the white population.
I didn't know that. No.
Stop taking the mickey.
Wow, stop asking me whether I'm up with it then.
Well, then why are you having trouble following my argument?
Well, you tell me the figures. You tell me the figures then. You tell me the figures.
No, the figures. Don't come up with. If you admit the point, don't sort of quibble about the figures.
I'm asking you just to find out whether you're tooled up or not, and you're not.
I'm sufficiently tooled up just to tell you one basic thing, which is that there are more, percentage-wise, there are more black people unemployed than white people, right?
Yes.
Right, okay. So are you saying that's because they're genetically inferior?
I said a moment ago that there are a range of reasons why a number of people are unemployed, but what we have to do is find out whether it's possible that there is such a thing as a gene which designates...
Well, now you're backtracking and getting a lot more sort of...
intelligent for you. Too intelligent for you. Far, far, far too quick for you, pal. Yes.
I don't think so. You're starting to weaken quite clearly. You were so confident about the fact that there's this link between unemployment.
No, that's
and
what
genetics.
you heard.
Now you're saying, well, maybe there is, maybe there isn't.
Whenever
you're telling me, listen, you've got to be clear on this.
I'll tell you what your problem is.
Here's an example where you should say, listen, it's quite.
You don't like doing a bit of work.
Genetically inferior makeup.
That's why you don't like this idea, because it means you're going to have to do a bit of work. You're going to have to take on board a new idea and some new thinking, and you don't like that because you're lazy.
Agree then, do you? Is that why they're unemployed more than white people?
If you're unemployed, it's because you're probably fundamentally lazy. That's why you find a new idea such hard work.
No, I mean, this isn't a new idea. This has been around for years.
No,
racists
it hasn't.
have been peddling it. But racists have been peddling it with IQs of about 20
Not a racist idea.
You can't make out this is something
you complete palooka. It's not a racist idea at all.
Well,
it's people like you who've got an obsession with the fact that you're white.
Listen for a second,
but
right?
you're not.
Listen to this argument,
you're
Tommy.
white,
You haven't
but you're
answered
not.
it at all.
No, I'm telling you about yourself, and that may be quite useful for you to hear.
Don't be ridiculous. Let's have an argument about the facts, all right? Let's have an argument about what's out there.
Why are you obsessed?
Ridiculously personal comment.
Why are you obsessed with the racist aspect of the argument?
I'm not obsessed. There's loads of things I could talk about, but I'm just pointing out to you that this is an area of difficulty for your argument. You're the one who's got a problem with this racist question. You haven't answered it at all.
I have answered it completely, but you weren't listening.
No, you haven't answered it at all. Why is it that black people are disproportionately unemployed if, according to you, there's a genetic link? Is it because they're genetically inferior? Yes or no?
Yes.
They're genetically inferior?
Was that the question?
Yeah.
Possibly.
Right, okay.
I mean,
that is very controversial. That is a very racist statement. You have said black people are genetically inferior to white people.
No, I said quite possibly.
You think possibly they are?
Quite possibly, yes, quite possibly. I don't know enough about genetics, do you?
What, to say? That is a very, very racist statement.
Well, the people who took all the slaves to the United States in the first place, they were very interested.
I think you could be in trouble with the Broadcasting Standards Commission.
That's all that interests you, isn't it? Getting me into trouble, not a new idea. You can't deal with a new idea, can you? You just want to get somebody into trouble.
People have been saying racist people have said that black people are genetically inferior to white people for centuries.
I'm going to report Tommy.
Well, you better
go and do it then. Go and do it, pal.
You're always telling people they've got to watch out for what they're saying, and they've got to think, and they've got to. Now, you've got to be a bit responsible, and you've got to think about what you're saying as well.
Why? Why have I got to be a bit responsible?
Because you've just made a very racist statement. Now, racism is a serious problem.
Well, racism is a serious problem when there are people like you who tell us that they're white, but that they care about black people. I don't notice a difference myself.
Well, listen, let me tell you this. My sister is black. She's adopted.
Oh.
Listen, I'm sorry.
Don't you come from a wonderful family?
Say that
That's why you rang up, really, isn't it? Because you wanted to show off. Because you come from a liberal family. Aren't you great? I bet your mum and dad never put The Guardian down, do they?
My mum and dad actually don't read The Guardian, and it's for your information. I don't really get on with them. You don't know anything about my family.
Darling, shut up. I've got a good joke here, which you've just fallen for, which is that I wasn't referring to the newspaper. I was referring to your parents.
You said my parents read The Guardian, and you were just wrong.
No, I didn't say The Guardian. I said I bet they never put The Guardian down. The Guardian being your mother.
Sorry?
Of your adopted sister.
Sorry?
You are, aren't you? It's gone right over your head.
I don't understand what you're on about.
I'm sorry. No, the quality of this conversation, Nick, I'm going to have to get down on both knees if I'm going to meet you at your level. Don't you understand the pathetic joke?
You're going to have to, you'd have to apologise to me for what you're saying. I agree. You should be on your knees.
Why?
Apologising for making racist comments.
Don't you realise that you phoned this radio programme up just to show off because you come from a liberal family?
No, rubbish. Listen.
Yes, it's true. We can all tell that.
You're really like.
Anyway, why aren't you at work? Why aren't you at work this afternoon?
I am at work, actually.
What do you do?
I'm not talking about that to you. I'm talking to you about your arguments, and you're just losing the arguments.
The argument is about employment. So what do you do? How would it be inappropriate? What do you mean get lost? What do you do?
No, get lost.
Get lost?
Yeah.
You get lost?
Yeah, get lost. That's not a question I think is relevant to a debate about unemployment in a general sense.
Absolutely lost conversationally.
All right, listen, you've lost the argument on black people. Let's go on to another equally straightforward argument which you lose also hands down. And that is if you're looking for a reason why people are unemployed, it's because of a lack of skill. There's a straightforward practical reason which is clearly linked to whether or not people can get jobs, and that's they haven't got skills.
But that could be genetic.
You don't have to go searching around looking for whether or not they've got some genetic problem, which is extremely complicated, scientifically
possible, though, Nicholas.
It's thoroughly controversial. You've got something straightforward. Why do you concentrate on that? If you're seriously interested in whether or not people are unemployed and try and do something about it,
I'm not particularly interested. I am merely putting the latest line of thinking.
That doesn't interest you.
It's very difficult to have a conversation with you, Nick, and I shouldn't imagine I'm the first person to discover that.
Well, listen, if you're going to make ridiculous statements, I think you should expect people to come in strongly and argue their case.
It's not
and
a
I'm doing
ridiculous
just that, and
statement.
You haven't got anything to say. So, I mean...
I haven't got anything to say because I'm trying to listen to you.
Well, that's a
You
bad
should
first,
try it
isn't
sometime.
I think you should.
You
All
should
I'm
try
saying
it
is, listen,
sometime.
First point, black people, you failed to answer that. Right, let's forget about it. You're incompetent on that. Then it comes to skills. You just answer me this. Why are you sort of going off on a complete tangent and talking about completely irrelevant stuff when there's something very practical and tangible that you could be focusing on and which is clearly linked to whether or not people are unemployed? And that is, do they have a skill?
Has he gone yet?
All right, I'll let you off the hook, shall I? I mean, you've got to make a living, haven't you?
Really? Well, yeah, I have. And I'll tell you, you're not doing the ratings any good, you.
Well, that's for once, because you're losing the argument, mate.
What you don't understand, Nick, is genetics. And how all-pervading...
Let me ask you this. What are your qualifications in genetics?
Look, shut it.
What do you know about
Shut your
genetics?
gob.
What do you know about genetics?
Shut your cake hole.
What do you know?
Shut your cake hole.
You're getting abusive, and just because you can't answer my question. What do you know about genetics? What have you ever read about genetics?
I'll only answer the question if you promise...
Have you even heard of somebody called I Think? Have you? Do you know who he is, I Think?
I think...
I think you don't know.
I think, I think
you haven't a clue.
Oh, no. Who was he? Remind me, because you're ever so clever.
No, you're going to have to go and look it up, aren't you? Perhaps before you start making ridiculous statements on the radio. You should know something basic about the genetics field, like who I Think was.
Right, you do. And who was I Think again, then? Because
E-Y-S-C-N-C-K. Go get somebody to look it up in the dictionary.
No, why don't you tell us?
do some work over there.
Why don't you tell us?
You're so lazy.
Well, at least I've got a job.
No, I've got a job too. I just don't want to tell you what it is.
We don't believe you.
Well, that's your problem, isn't it?
We're going to ring you back because we think you're at home.
I don't care what you do.
You are at home, aren't you?
You haven't answered my point about black people. You haven't answered my point about skills.
Did you know that telling
let me make another point to you,
is also a genetic
which you won't be able to answer. Let me make another point.
Did you know that lying is also a genetic trait?
Lying?
Yes.
Why are you bringing that up?
I'm just because it's interesting.
Well, I mean, I don't see the relevance. Let's ask my point about skills. Come on.
Yes.
Why aren't you concentrating on this? There's a clear reason why people don't have jobs, and that is they don't have skills.
Because they have inherited the inability to pick up skills.
Oh, right. So that's the case, is it? I mean, so you send people to school. There's some of them you might as well just not bother with because they're never ever going to be able to learn a skill. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So who are they?
The unemployed.
No. At school. You can't say people are unemployed.
People with unemployed fathers.
Well, genetics doesn't work like that either, does it?
Well, this is what they're trying to find out at the moment.
No, listen, people go to school and everybody can learn to speak a language. That's a skill, right?
No, not everybody can.
Oh, right, so we should just we should make sure just that people who can't speak English, don't...
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Nick, when you've thought it through, call us back, okay?
No, come on, you're in trouble here. Skills is the reason why people don't have jobs, and everybody can learn skills. Don't be so negative and don't be so ridiculous. Everybody learns a language. Who is this person? Where are these people who can't speak? Only dumb people can't speak, and that's a physical problem. And even they can communicate by making signs.
Nick, it's been great talking to you. I'm going to have to say cheerio. Do ring any time you like.
Right, Tommy, you're a wally. Have a nice afternoon. You're going to have to hang up on me because, I don't see why I should...
Oh, go on, slam the phone down, please. Go on, slam it down.
No, I don't see why I should give you the satisfaction. You're going to have to...
no, I'll tell you why. It's because you're quite an intelligent person and you would know how to slam a phone down. When you slam a phone down, you must slam the phone down so it just misses the receiver so that we get the bang before the line goes dead. So could you do
No, you're going to have to end this conversation because, I'm quite enjoying it. I think it's showing you...
Yeah, I know, but...
let me make another point, mate.
No, let me make...
What are you going to do about disabled people?
Let me make a point. Well, we're going to discuss disabled people in the next hour of the programme.
No, right. Well, what are you going to do about disabled people?
Well,
if you're
keep
so
listening
sure
and call in the next hour. No, actually, don't. Give it a couple of weeks. Would you do that?
No, just wait. You're going to have a couple of weeks to recover, aren't you, mate?
Oh, absolutely, Nick. Oh.
You need a few pints just to get over this, won't you?
I need a couple of these cuts stitched, yeah. Go on, back you go. There's a good programme on in a minute.
I'm not watching the telly, mate.
No. You're at work, aren't you?
I'm doing my work, yeah.
Because you're very employable, aren't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've got plenty of skills. I could be doing your job, that's for sure, and a lot better.
And love to your sister.
Well... no, I mean, you're not going to bring him into it. I just mentioned it because you were saying that, I was,
By the way, you sound black to me.
Rubbish.
Well, I just wondered why you were insisting that you were white when you came on earlier. What's that got to do with anything?
Well, I just thought I'd mention it. You know, I mean,
Well, I don't mention it to people. I don't mention it to people. It's not the sort of thing you mention to people.
Listen, I said black people are disproportionately unemployed. And I said, how come more black people are unemployed? How come more black people are unemployed than white people? Or how come they're more unemployed than us? So
by the way, I'm white.
I'm white.
Yes, why? Doesn't matter in this day and age, mate. You're behind the times.
Well, listen, all right, if we're going to get back to black people, let me put my point to you again. How come?
No, as I said before, we're going to have to go because we've got a queue going.
Well, why don't you have
block.
the courage just to put the phone down then, mate?
Because I never cut people off. I'm too polite.
Is that right?
You've listened to the show before?
No, I haven't.
Yes, you have.
Well, I've listened to it for about 5 minutes. I think I've heard you. No, you've cut people off. I've heard you cut people off very rudely.
Come on, sort it out. You're making stuff up as you go along. You're going to have to go now anyway because we've got an agenda here. Free call 0500 10 53 89. We're discussing on the back of research which is taking place in Japan, I understand, which may draw the conclusion that unemployment is an inherited trait. Free call 0500 10 53 89. It will require quite a big shift in our thinking if that research in any way supports that idea. But you've got to change your thinking. You've got to change your thinking. Free call 0500 10 53 89. I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio. There's a good argument for listening.
To Tommy Boyd. Free call 0500 10 53 89.
Guy calls from Bath. You're on Talk Radio. Guy.
Hello, Tommy. I'm white. I have a black sister, and I'm phoning from home, just like you are this weekend. I'm just ringing to apologise on behalf of everyone that fits that description for the fool that you had on just now.
Fool.
Very, very silly, trying to use the fact he had a black sister as some sort of...
credential.
Do-gooder thing. Yes, something like that.
Yes.
So on behalf of all people that fit that description, just to say sorry for him.
Guy, I'm grateful for your call. Thank you. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Margaret calls from Nottinghamshire. You're on Talk Radio, Margaret.
If we look into history, Tommy, we can see the laws of survival. And I think that genetics has got to play its part in this. If you think about it, the previous but one guy has got motor mouth gene, but on a more serious note, the guy that in ancient days couldn't get himself together and hunt for food didn't actually survive to procreate.
I hadn't thought about that, but you're right.
Survival of the fittest is the most basic tenet behind genetics.
Well spotted.
And so perhaps in this society, I mean, I don't necessarily hold this view, but what might following the most basic tenet, is that perhaps there are some people in our society who aren't actually befitted. I won't say they're not fit because that's judgmental, but are not befitted to procreate, as were the men from, the first day that we became, Homo erectus or whatever, and from then on through the ages.
It's an important point you make, Margaret. You should be proud, and also I'm in awe of the precision with which you use the English language. Thank you for your call.
Thanks.
Let's talk to Dee, who calls from Dorset. You're on Talk Radio, Dee.
Hello, Tommy.
Dee.
Hello. There was another man with views like yours, who discriminated against sections of the society and thought he had a very good reason for doing so. And we all know what his name was, don't we? Now, to me...
Well, Hitler?
No, Tommy, it's a case of nurture, not nature.
Are you saying I'm like...
No, I'm going to talk. I've listened to you.
What, Hitler? Oh, steady.
No, Tommy, you're wrong. You're suggesting that most of the unemployed people are unemployable. That is rubbish. Society has changed dramatically. We haven't had time to change with it yet.
I have no views on the matter, Dee. I'm just a conduit.
No.
Placing information in front of you for your consideration.
How far would you carry your views, Tommy?
What?
How far would you carry your line of argument? Would it go along the colour of skin, hair, whatever?
It's not my argument, Dee, and I don't like being compared with you-know-who. Let's have a word with Joy, who calls from London. Joy, you get the last word on this one. You're on Talk Radio.
Well, I find Nick was a racist one, not you. He stressed an adopted black sister.
Yeah.
Like, my best friend is white, my black, my best friend is Jewish.
Yeah.
He is the one who was racist, not you.
Joy, I'm grateful for your call. Thank you very much indeed.
Okay.
Free call 0500 10 53 89. In the next hour of the programme, take a look at the room that you're in at the moment, and I bet your eyes will not fall at all on what is, in fact, the most important part of that room, and a much neglected part of that room, and we'll put that right in the next hour. I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio.
Don't forget to subscribe and like. Comment too if you wish. Even slap your legs and make a purchase from Ann Summers. But don't do nothing.